Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Recreation Rooster. This is season 2, episode 6. Episode 6. So, with that being said, I'm Dan Chiava once again, and this is Maisha.
Hi,
So,
guys. So happy to continue season 2 of Recreation Rooster Podcast, a podcast for and about recreation and leisure enthusiasts. As we mentioned before, we do encourage you to petition your preferred credentialing agency to get CEU credits from viewing and participating in this discussion with us today. So, yeah, Dan, let's take it away. Go ahead with our learning objectives.
indeed, yeah, I mean, in particularly the NCTRC, because, uh, yeah, push them, please. Um, anyway, participants will learn at least one new piece of information on supplies and equipment for special populations, psych, prison, etc. Participants will learn at least one new organization that provides CRRT services, and participants can state 3 categories measured by the GRST, the GHOST.
Yes.
Um, you know, that's uh that's it. That's the that is definitely the learning objectives. So we'll start with the quote of the day, I guess. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, and I'll take it away with that. Um I guess maybe I'll put this one. I'll do this one. The body heals with play, the mind heals with laughter, and the spirit heals with joy. So um the body heals with play, the mind heals with laughter, and the spirit heals with joy. So, um, that's pretty, yeah, I mean, that's a good way of saying kind of, the essence of what we do in a way. So, I mean, of course, you know, um, we it's oftentimes reduced down to for clinical purposes almost and billing purposes, etc. Reduced down to I guess uh basically functional outcomes and stuff that could be in some ways uh look good to the people who are funding services, but what we actually do is much more than that. It really is whole person. It really does help people transform the environments. So yeah, there's a lot that could be said about it in terms of how unique the field is compared to other fields. I feel like this is part of what makes us unique. We deal with healing the body, playing, and with the mind, with laughters, spirit, joy, these kind of concepts that kind of go even beyond um, what is necessarily areas the other disciplines are doing in a way. So uh, that's pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
thank
what's
you, Dan. I want to thank you so much for mentioning that particular quote. I know, in my opinion, just, being in the profession for so many years, just the whole concept of play and the
great.
fact that we never stop playing throughout our whole continuum of our life. We call it different things. And the thing that I really love about recreation therapy is that we still continue to embrace that childhood enthusiasm to engage and connect and to interact with others. Yeah, in our clinical notes, yeah, we may not call it play. We may call it engage. We may call it interact. We may call it socialize. We may call it a lot of different things, right? But the fact of the matter, what we're speaking to is a multisensory and a very emotional and physical and cognitive connection that's happening between individuals. People heal people. Okay. To have sustainable health, it involves more than just a pill or a shot. Okay. It involves establishing a support system, a sense of connection with others, so that when we are dealing with the environmental stressors or the life milestones or the other life experiences that invoke a lot of hurt or pain, we can lean and depend on one another to get through it, to develop resiliency, to give ourselves motivation, to optimize our functionality. So yes, I definitely believe in that quote that play heals the body. And then what was the second part of the quote you mentioned?
Yeah, so, well, play healing the body, the mind heals with laughter. Yeah,
Oh wow.
uh and the
I can definitely attribute to that. I enjoy a good humor or wit. Oftentimes, in some of the most stressful points in my life, I've used humor, dark humor, light humor. I've used humor, and I think that that is also why the arts, the dramatic arts, have been so much of a lure and intrigue for mass markets all over the globe. It's because it helps us to jump outside of the stresses of life and jump into a whole nother world and utilizing those nuances and those social connections that we see that are being performed or spoke about to relate to our present day situations and to let them know that guess what, things can be better, and for that moment, having that laughter, it does definitely alleviate stress. So yes, I'm definitely one that agrees with this quote. This quote is spot on. Thank you, Dan. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, we learn from the very beginning. I mean, from a very, very young through playing. We learn through playing, so and that really ought not to stop throughout life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing that we're seeing now, especially in 2024, is that we're seeing a resurgence, or maybe I should say an enlightenment period of older seniors now embracing play. They've worked for decades, they've retired with pensions, and some are widowed, some are not, and they are not like the seniors that we had back 20 years ago. These seniors are embracing play, embracing interacting, socializing, traveling, and having new experiences with one another. And they are definitely very vibrant in their thoughts of their life in that stage and also in their actions. So they're very intentional. And I'm just loving the fact that we're seeing, 60, 70, 80-year olds competing in weightlifting and traveling and doing. And the social media accounts of these individuals are quite amazing. So, yes, play is for the duration of our life. Let's embrace it. We as recreation therapists, let's continue to apply the scope of practice and the skill sets that we have in place to help people to set up life mapping for themselves for the different phases of life so they can continue to live vibrantly, healthy, safely, and happily. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
next up, guys, we have our second segment, which is on Song of the Day. Take it away, Dan.
Yeah, Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. And you know, it's a great song. Um, kind of definitely in this area we have harsh winters. And you know, uh it's so nice when you finally get some sun in the winter. January, February, March, and that's the coldest and darkest time of year that's coming up. So, yeah.
They often say too, one, I love that song. I love the Beatles. They're just such a classic, iconic band. It just revolutionized and changed the entire world.
No doubt.
But I did want to say, as we all know, they have a couple of, studies on the sun and its impact to to our affect, to our emotions and our feelings as human beings, and how it's so critical that we have access to sunlight to improve our mood. And it has so many other beneficial functions. But like all things with the earth, it's in moderation. You know, you get too much of it, it can kill you. You get too little of it, you can have adverse effects as well. The homeostasis of the body is simply amazing, in all realms of it. Physio, cognitive, spiritual. It's just so many impacts with the sun. So I love that song. I think it's great for programming as well. So many fans of the Beatles, and it brings back so many great memories that our clients have experienced over their life. And then it also brings a smile to their face, and other, opportunities for them to interact with others by having a shared interest.
Sunscreen, yeah.
Hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, that's important when in the sun or whatever. There's natural sunscreens you could get. I know, some people it's good to stay away from chemicals, but want to stay away from chemicals. Kind of like me. But what do you call it? There are natural sunscreens you could do, uh, which is good. But also, um, with regards to, I mean, yeah, it is like we were just talking about. It's a different population of seniors coming up. I mean, you know, those the Beatles generation and the '60s, the baby boomers, they're essentially here in terms of the senior population now. That basically is the senior population now. So, um, you know, so that definitely does change things. So
Yeah. I'm
people
so glad, and I'm so glad that you had mentioned just now. Sorry for cutting you off. I'm so glad that you had mentioned about the sunscreen, because oftentimes we as recreation therapists, when we're doing outdoor programming, it's super critical that we have that dialogue and that understanding by either going to the patient's chart or speaking with, getting guidance from nursing or medical on proper precautions for our clients when they are partaking in outdoor activities, and that's super important. I've carried my share of sunscreens, and definitely having protocol in place as far as who is supposed to administer it, who is supposed to spread it onto the body, what areas of the body, making sure that the clients are properly trained, making sure that I'm properly trained on how it should be done and the frequency it should be done as well. So regarding the sun, we definitely taking this 360. I love it. Hmm.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So the next is advocacy and amplifying our voices. Um, Becoming involved in the political process. That's you know, that's definitely something that is important for us to do. So, yeah, definitely something that's important for us to do on all levels. It starts with local levels, but on all levels. Yeah.
And
So,
I must admit too, oftentimes having these conversations with different colleagues, there needs to be more participation in this process by recreation therapists, and it has to go beyond helping your clients register to vote and actually vote for their local, state, and national elections. It really is a issue that I hold near and dear to my heart, as far as when it comes to affecting positive change for the recreation therapy profession as a whole, when it comes to title protections and other regulatory language that could benefit us, as far as the viability of the profession. So, when you think about political action, yes, many people think about, taking a trip to your state capital and lobbying to the legislators, but it can happen in so many smaller steps. It can be something as simple as attending a town hall meeting in your local neighborhood. It can be something as simple as writing letters to your congressmen or to your senators or your House representative leaders. It can be something that's as simple as reaching out to your what do they call that? City regulatory boards or your ombudsmans or your different committee chairs that they have for different regulatory um, industries that might impact recreation therapy and what we do on a day-to-day basis. Also, too, just on the peripheral, supporting, putting your money where your mouth is and supporting through donation or through volunteership, meeting for not for parades per se, but for petitioning and other, advocacies campaigns that might be through your labor union. It might be through your state chapter or your national advocacy chapter or an international advocacy chapter. There's so many different ways to do it. And I know me per se, I tend to wear our t-shirt every day and always sees the opportunity to speak on behalf of the profession and how wonderful and amazing we are, and garnering support from the most unlikely um, colleagues or allies and building partnerships. Definitely, it's possible. What's your thoughts on it, Dan?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, yeah, we have to, yeah, even be running or like pushing, progressive, like-minded people to run in local campaigns and doing what we can to get big money out of politics. That's the crux of the issue. I mean, and with that, behind the numbers, the largest voting bloc is non-voters. So we need to re-engage those by really representing them instead of the wealthy interests. So, and
Oh, could you tell us a little bit more about how we can re-engage those voters?
well, I mean, basically, I mean, of course, if I feel like they people don't vote because they feel like neither party is representing them. So that's why you have to actually go out there and make actually represent people um that because let's be honest, I mean really both parties are largely captured by big money. So um and that's why we need to really have kind of a shift in how things are going in this direction. So, and if all those people voted, um, you know, for I don't know, a third party candidate, they would win. So, that person would win most likely. So,
So for all the folks who say, "Oh, we don't have the millions and billions of dollars to support these candidates," you can always counter it with numbers,
mhm,
numbers of voters.
yeah,
Numbers of voters will always trump a multi-million dollar donor. Because guess what? The multi-million dollar donor only has one vote. One vote.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and to be honest with you, uh, the multi-million-dollar voter doesn't really care that much who wins because they buy both sides. So they might have a preference for one side or the other, but they buy both sides. So it's not the end of the world, no matter who wins. So because they're bought and paid for. So.
Ooh,
Uh,
goodness.
uh-huh.
Good
To be
air.
honest with you. Uh-huh. That's the reality of politics. So, that's why we have to change that. Mhm.
So
But
bipartisanship, meaning, having Republicans and Democrats, sometimes they sound very similar to each other and they feed each other. So, being able to have
mm,
more independent parties, a more
yeah,
diverse mix of candidates is always a good thing as far as representing the interest of the United States as a whole. And like we
correct.
said before, we've been in bipartisanship for 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 decades, on purpose, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's bipartisan, it means they're screwing you extra hard, probably, really. So, yeah, that's the reality. So, all right. Um, on to nuts and bolts of TR, whatever. Making sure equipment and supplies are safe for special populations. And I mean, I've worked in these kind of populations, and yes, that is true. You definitely, uh, if you're in on a behavioral health unit, you ought not to be giving uh, what do you the real forks and knives to psych people, and those type of things. Um, I have been on agencies that have done that, and have
Wow.
taken issue with them with that. So, uh, yeah. So, but I mean, same thing. I mean, of course, there are writing utensils that are safe for for prison populations, psych populations, uh, etc. So, using them, it's basically having uh policies and procedures in place for these things. So, I mean, these people. I mean, like was saying, these it is a risk, and I mean, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen potentially with all the strings, the TV cords, and other items, um, being accessed by uh, you know dangerous populations. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of one agency in particular, which I won't name, but yeah, they've had those kind of issues, and it's a potential problem. So,
Yeah, and I think a couple other things as far as systems that you can put into place to ensure that equipment and supplies are safe. Oftentimes, what we do is we set up a couple of systems. So, one thing that we definitely do regarding procurement is we want to ensure that there's a routine shelf rotation that's in place. The shelf rotation serves two purposes. It ensures that you get maximal use of supplies or equipment that have been bought, meaning that expired, recently bought equipment will be used last, and equipment that has been bought a little while back will be used first. There also would be guidelines on the MSDS and on other materials books about proper use of the equipment or supplies. So, perfect example would be if you bought yourself some tempera paints, or you bought yourself some pastels or some wood stains or whatnot. You would actually have a recommended period of use by the manufacturer, and then, of course, having a system in place to ensure that staff rotate the shelves or the storage of it to ensure that those things are used first without drying out, without being misused, or because some things actually after a point in time they're actually not usable or they're not safe for use. And you always have to take into consideration you may have a client that might try to consume it, so you have to make sure that you utilize equipment and supplies that poses the less amount of toxicity or fatality if ingested. Have systems in place as far as observing, supervising, and managing that equipment and those supplies when you are with staff and when staff are with clients in facilitation of programming. Another example for supplies and equipment for special populations, having a contract that's already in place for biomedical or a agency or a group of therapists. Like there are some RTs that specialize in adaptive equipment and they actually build equipment. The big craze now is the 3D printing of equipment and supplies that are needed. And then also the traditional thing of partnering with different agencies and businesses that not only sell the equipment but service the equipment. Also having another system in place as far as health and safety when it comes to proper cleaning of the equipment in between use, and the amount of minutes that certain chemicals should be on the surface of equipment, making sure you have proper gloving and proper application of of the cleaning tools, proper masking for yourself, and ventilation in the rooms as well. A few other things too is, the simple troubleshooting of things when you come across equipment that isn't properly working. Either the staff mentions it to you or a client mentions it, oh, this part is sticking out or poking me, whatnot. The proper protocol as far as reporting that and having a system that is in place to remedy that and ensure that the client has not received any harm. And if they have received harm, that as reported to nursing, and nursing has a plan of care in place to ensure that the client is treated for whatever harm. And then, of course, going to risk management. I spent a lot of meetings as an RT, especially in behavioral health, talking with the risk management department on systems and protocols that we can put into place, and having the money to back it to ensure that, the health and safety of our clients are of utmost and number one priority when it comes to the equipment and stuff that we use. As you guys know, us being recreation therapists, especially if you are at an agency that really supports you, you are one of the few therapists on the disciplinary team who may have closets and closets of supplies. Okay, so with that being said, the role and the skill set of logistics and procurement and management of your supplies and equipment is super critical. It is a great skill that we have that many RTs don't acknowledge, but definitely that's something to put on your resume as well. So there's a lot of systems and processes that are in place to ensure that our supplies and equipment are safe and functional for our special populations. Oftentimes, before really large events and also routine programming, I also go in and we have the staff do their due diligence to ensure that the supplies and equipment is actually functional, that it actually is working. Because there's nothing less than planning programming, and then when you bring the supplies out, they don't work. Right. And then, of course, having a contingency in place as far as if it does not work, what is going to be done and what is the maximum capacity of clients that can be that can program with the amount of supplies and equipment that you have. So with that being said, it's a lot that goes into place when it comes to doing our therapeutic interventions with our clients. And always remember, safety before treatment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, that's really kind of what it starts with. And communicating to other disciplines is a good point. I mean, I I mean, a lot of every month I know in long-term care, the regulations call for you have to have a resident council where the residents get together and kind of talk about all the disciplines and basically if there's any issues or if there's any what's going well, what's not going so well, whatnot. And if there is a and if there's a complaint, like I don't know, somebody's missing their laundry or something like that, say, yeah, send a note to the laundry person, document that you're sending that note to the laundry person and have them give you a read receipt because yeah, so that way it's not on you that you communicated to the other discipline that this is an issue and that needs to be addressed. So uh and so you want to document that that you did what you could to address that issue. So
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that about the chain reaction that happens behind resolving an issue. It's super important because I mean, let's be honest here. We're part of a huge group of individuals that are servicing clients, and we may not have, the ability to fix and tinker and to troubleshoot something, but definitely having that work order or having that requisition put in and then having a timeline to ensure that, whatever we're troubleshooting is resolved in an appropriate amount of time is super critical as far as the satisfaction and the quality of care for our clients on a day-to-day basis. So definitely many of these type of troubleshooting actually originates with rec therapists. I encourage each rec therapist to advocate for your clients, and definitely get that chain reaction in place regarding resolving issues they may have, be it laundry, be it special equipment or supplies that they use in programming, so that they can definitely have resolution and a continued access to the equipment and supplies that we use in programming. Yes. And guys, our next segment is on clinical considerations, and we wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Book, which I call it the RT Bible. So we wanted to showcase one assessment tool today, which is called the GRST. So that's GRST, and GRST stands for General Recreation Screening Tool. And for those who've never heard of it, this is a screening tool that helps to determine a child's functional level between the age of 0 to 10 years old. They go over 18 skill areas as well. And this tool was developed at the Rainier School in Buckley, Washington in 1988. Okay. And just a little bit about this tool. It does discuss developmental levels, and it compiles them from more than 12 different developmental charts. And each one of the charts has been tested for accuracy based on the stated developmental ages. So a couple of the areas is, of course, the physical domain, where we go over gross motor skills. I'm going to read them all. Where we go over gross motor skills, fine motor skills. Then we have our cognitive domain, where we go over play behavior, structure of play, language use, numbers, object use and understanding, following directions and problem solving, language comprehension. Our next domain is affective domain, where we go over possessions, imitation play, emotional control, people skills, reaction to music, stories, and dramatic play. And that is just a quick summary on the general recreation screening tool, which is called the GRST. This tool is also very much applied in the school-based environments, and it is also acknowledged by the individual education plan team. This is one tool that I oftentimes use when I am assessing the functional levels of small children in school settings who may have been referred for individual program plan or a multi-tiered system of support for behavioral or any type of learning disability. So you can find this in your Red Book, and I really encourage you to utilize it. It is a great way to help you in your evaluative process as you are doing your report, your plan of care. And it also, in my opinion, I feel that it's very comprehensive as well. Covers a lot of different domains and criterias under those domains. What's your thoughts on that one, Dan?
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a good tool. Yeah. And it's comprehensive, and it kind of gives you measurable data to report on when going into a IEP meeting.
Right, absolutely. And I can also say too, just going into IEP meetings, so many things are covered in this tool that all the other disciplines are not covering. So it really spotlights the way that a recreation therapist looks at the whole person when it comes to our evaluations. So I think it's a really great tool. I encourage RTs to learn it, learn how to score it, learn how to interpret it and use it. And you'll find that it will be very enriching to your practice and to your clients. Yes. And next up, guys, our next segment is private practice tips. So we want to talk a little bit about marketing materials, okay? So, I know that we're in a digital age, so there's so many different levels to marketing. I can't stress the importance of having a really good business card. Just having a handy business card or a postcard in your hand, it still reaches the most, in my opinion, it's still very valuable, And I would say this, don't order like 10,000 and then try to, spread it out there in high numbers. What you do is you save those business cards for those warm leads, for those hot leads that you know is going to definitely have a high possibility of reaping business for you. And you utilize digital marketing for the cold leads, pushing the information out. Okay, I definitely would encourage that. Also, too, you oftentimes will also utilize different platforms to do a blog or a podcast where you talk about your business, or post where you talk about your business, or kind of after event or after programming posts. And I would also say word of mouth, or any type of Yelp or reviews from current clients, is always a great thing. Oftentimes I will utilize the reviews, also references from prior clients, to get business. So there's so many different ways that you can get out there, having a standard website, blog, newsletter, email group is always, a great way of doing it. And the beauty of it all is that a lot of this stuff comes packaged and it's a lot more affordable than what it was before. A few of the different companies that I use for any printed materials, I definitely use Vistaprint. I also use some smaller print businesses here in the greater Los Angeles area as well. And then, nowadays you get the good software like Canva, or any kind of Microsoft or Apple software. You can actually do your printing in-house too. So, with that being said, I want to encourage you guys to just get the word out there. Print your shirts, put your logos on your car, on hats, on keychains, on business cards. Really get yourself out there and explore the possibilities. And then, of course, have specials for different holidays, or different times of the year, different seasons of the year. And if you have targeted clientele that you want to reach, you know have promotionals, for if you want to reach veterans, have promotionals for veterans where they get a discount. If you want to get out there to the schools, have promotionals, 30 days before school starts in your local area, where you can have an open house, or a some type of donated service as well. Also too, another thing which is always great for marketing is joining a local chamber of commerce or a local nonprofit, and then being a philanthropist, donating service as well. If there's families that have children that might be on the autism spectrum, or have cerebral palsy, or multiple sclerosis, and you connect with those nonprofits, those foundations, and you offer a certain amount of donated services as well. It's a great way to get your name out there, and then they will showcase your business in their newsletters and whatnot. You're able to meet to reach bigger audiences. And of course, you oftentimes have your more traditional advertising and marketing, which is you buying space in newspaper ads, magazine ads, and whatnot. It starts to get a little bit expensive. Also, television, going on and buying space on television ads and stuff. That's what the big guys do, right? Type of thing. And then, of course, your local community oftentimes will have a small business association, an SBA. They give you many, many opportunities to go to conferences, showcase your wares, showcase your services at conferences and expos as well. So there's a lot of opportunity out there to be great. I really encourage each and every recreation therapist that is out here becoming and doing and being an entrepreneur to continue. There is a great demand for the services that we provide. Go out there and be great and change the world.
Definitely. Uh, definitely.
All right, guys. So our next segment, which is our third to last, is iron sharpens iron, workplace dynamics. we're going to talk a little bit about reinforcements versus duplication of RT services. What is considered to be a reinforcement of your service as a recreation therapist, and what is considered to be a duplication of your recreation therapy services? Time and time again, I have heard RT speak about how other disciplines encroach upon their services and they observe and witness us doing great programming, and then you go back the next day and you see that they have tried to duplicate everything that you did the day before, which oftentimes leads to satiation and duplication of services, right? So, with that being said, I wanted to really point out what was the difference between reinforcement versus duplication of services. Because as we guys do know, there is some overlap in treatment. It's by design to have some overlap in treatment. But when you have somebody who is literally trying to mimic everything that you do, and they're another discipline, that is a huge problem. Multiple reasons why. One, it is adverse for the client due to satiation. Two, you cannot bill for the same service because that through Medicaid, Medi-Cal, or any kind of organized health management system, because that's considered a duplication of services. It's a reason why we have certain members of the team to do certain things. So reinforcement, let's talk a little about reinforcement. So reinforcement of, say, an RT service or RT reinforcing another discipline service simply means that we are offering a continuum of interventions that help to improve another domain within the person's plan of care. So it could be something as simple as, say, the client had physical therapy for a knee injury. So the physical therapist was focusing on the micro functionality of that knee, range of motion, reduction in pain, increased in use, right? So now what happens is the recreation therapist now comes alongside or shortly after a certain level of functionality has been achieved to offer a leisure lifestyle or a recreation pursuit that will further enhance the use of his knee, the use, and also enhance his motivation to continue utilizing it more, furthermore increasing the mobility of the knee and the functionality of the knee. That is a reinforcing. Now, if the recreation therapist said, okay, you went to physical therapy on Tuesday, now meet me at the RT gym and we're going to work on range of motion for your knee on this exercise machine, and I'm going to measure out how far you can extend your knee. That's duplication of services. Okay. Now let's talk about it the other way around. So say you are a recreation therapist and you are working with someone who is, say, spinal cord injury, and you're doing aquatic therapies with this client where you're working on range of motion, and you're also utilizing the pool for buoyancy. And what you have done is you have started a water aerobics class. Let's say you did a water aerobics class. Okay, you had the client come in 3 times a week to water aerobics, and you had several different objectives that were in place: a social objective, a possibly a physical objective, and then you possibly had a also a emotional, right? Because oftentimes when people with spinal cord injury, they may have some social emotional challenges that come with, redefining who they are, getting
Yes.
past the fear, right? So you may have 3 objectives. So you're doing it 3 times a week. Let's just say you come in on a fourth day where you don't have that client, and all of a sudden you see that another discipline that is not an RT is sitting up in there doing water aerobics, utilizing your boom box, utilizing your equipment, right? And saying that they're working, that they're doing something different. No, 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 you're not. That is duplication of services. You need to offer a different modality and have different goals in place to work with that client. Okay. because in about 2 more days, this client's going to be coming back to me to do water aerobics for working on the 3 goals that I have in place. And oftentimes and time again, we as RTs, we do find ourselves in situations where other disciplines will see that we have a really great program with high participation, and they themselves say, well, I want to do that too. No, 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 you don't want to do that too. Do your job. And allow the RT to do our job. You have any examples, Dan?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, that's very good. I mean, of course, I'll say when I was in New York State, the New York State has a brain injury waiver program. Um, and they have several different services. It started with service coordination, and then you pick the service coordinator, and then they pick all the other professionals that they want to work with through the service coordinator. So you had oftentimes people went to a structured day program, or they got positive behavioral interventions and supports (PBIS), community integration counseling, um, and sometimes they had an independent living skills trainer. So and that was a good way to, in some ways, reinforce each other. So, and actually, service coordinators did a lot of the social transportation. So they could do some of the leisure education and stuff like that. But with through the get them out into the community, and with that you could have the community integration counselor help them counsel them about issues in the community, etc. Um, so that was one way in terms of how they kind of uh, complemented each other. And of course, in the structured day program, you could practice the socialization and the independent living skills. Um, Sometimes the participants actually cooked lunch for the rest of the participants. Um,
Nice.
and that was a independent living skill kind of a situation. And it's a full day of socialization as well,
Mhm.
because they're playing all kinds of games and that type of a thing. So, and then of course there's um what do you call it? Positive behavioral interventions and support. So if a person's having a behavioral issue, they'll work one on one with a counselor, and then get to practice that in the day program. So those can work very well together. And of course, the um, to independent living skills, if somebody needs more hands-on with shopping or, uh, doing the laundry, an independent living skills trainer could provide that hands-on assistance, with them. So several different ways to support people with the brain injury, and that's where reinforcement was very nice. I mean, it might have had some of the same goals, and there might have been some overlap. Um, but um, it was kind of reinforcing each other. Whereas doing the exact same modality with the exact same goals, that's kind of duplication. So that would be. Oh.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And, time and time again, I hear stories about, RTs who may be the only RT at an organization. They're hired on and they come into the fold, of the treatment team, and they come in and say, oh, well, everybody else is doing RT, right? And they don't want to relinquish it, meaning that they're not doing what they've been trained to do within their profession. They've been covering and doing RT interventions and RT modalities, and then when the agency hires an RT to actually come in and do that work, no one wants to allow the RT to do that work. And then you have just the opposite where you may have an RT who that's been there for decades that is doing great programming, and they're constantly having to redirect people to do their work within their scope of practice because everyone wants to do what the RT is doing because they think it is fun. They don't see necessarily the functionality in it and the fact that this is serious work that we do. We make it fun, for a reason, to ensure that we can get compliance and that it can be sustainable for our clients. We're changing lifestyles here, and improving independence for our clients, and optimal functionality for our clients. So, just really being able to tease out when somebody is really encroaching on your profession and just duplicating what you are doing as a therapist versus when they are, being more, what is the word? Being more reinforcing is the word. So, guys, now we're to our last segment, which is the Recreation Rooster, actually second to the last, where we talk about recreation subcultures. We wanted to talk about scuba diving, and I believe we actually already covered scuba diving in the previous episode. So we're going to skip that one for today and head on right to our Recreation Rooster stamp of approval. And today, we have chosen an organization. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, this organization is Rock for Veterans. Um, and they're a great organization that works with veterans. Yeah, and I mean, you know a little bit more about them than I do, actually, I think.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. I didn't choose them, but
Oh,
okay.
you didn't?
I will look them up.
Eh,
It's fine, guys. It happens sometimes. So let's look them up really quick so we can tell you just a little bit more information about them.
yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I believe you are right, Dan. I did choose them. I
Uh,
chose them. So, Rook for Veterans is actually
oh,
a nonprofit which was founded by six Black Ops veterans, military guys, and what they chose to do is use opportunities to use military style training in hikes and different adventure based, nature based programming to improve the functionality, to enhance sobriety, mental clarity, physical fitness, camaraderie, and builds positive social supports with various veterans, as they go back into civilian life. Rook for Veterans is an amazing organization. They meet regularly, 2, 3 different times a week. They are a great resource, and I would encourage any recreation therapists that are in the Southern California region to reach out to Rook for Veterans and get your veterans involved. This is more high impact, more adventure based, more ropes course, hiking, high optimal physical fitness programming. So reach out to them, donate and support them. It's a great organization that's ran by ex-military men and women. So with that being said, Recreation Rooster stamp of approval for episode 6, season 2, episode 6 is Rook for Veterans.
yeah. I mean, that's very much, yeah, that sounds like they promote a lot of ways to get natural highs and stuff like that with ropes courses and stuff like that. Um, adventure
Absolutely.
therapy. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yes, and they oftentimes they will do these rooks, which is like hikes with gear on, and it's a great way to improve your functional fitness and to improve your discipline, endurance, stamina, physical fitness. And it's a great challenge as well for those who are seeking a more competitive edge or competition when it comes to beating their own score and also competing with fellow veterans as well. So with that being said, guys, this is episode 6, season 2, Recreation Rooster Podcast. We want to thank you for joining us. Please take note to the learning objectives that are listed in the description. Reach out to your preferred credentialing agency to see if you can get yourself some CEUs with us today. Please like, share, and follow. Comment as well. You can reach out to us at our website at www.recreationrooster.org. You can reach out to me. I am Maisha, owner and founder of New Horizons Concierge Firm, and also your co-host here at Recreation Rooster Podcast. You can reach out to me at Maisha at recreationrooster.org or info at newhorizons-concierge.com. And then my phone number is 213-524-6925. And we're always happy to take bookings to present and to showcase at different conferences, also universities, virtually or in person. And Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I'm Dan Chiavo. You can reach me at 845-987-0104. That's 845-987-0104. Daniel at recreationrooster.org. Daniel at recreationrooster.org. Leisure Dan Consulting Services.
All
Yeah.
right. And with that being said, guys, we do have these amazing shirts for sale. Recreation Rooster shirts. Please support, like, and follow us. We do have our shirts for $25 a piece. They are beautiful, vibrant blue shirts, and you can always place an order via email. You can go to our website as well. With that being said, you guys have a great holiday season. And be great out there, and just know that 2025 is going to be a great year for health and recreation and leisure enthusiasts. Bye bye.
Mm.